tonight.
It's bad enough that they come home to their home destroyed. The last thing in the world that we want would be for them to find their family, friends, remains on scene.
What do they say?
They say, fuck Honduras. We don't want those motherfuckers here.
Saying that Steve Bannon was getting his own, I mean, that was like a pretty big mistake.
Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn has been arrested in Tokyo over allegations he misused company funds and underreported his salary by almost $45 million for 5 years. Ghosn created the largest automotive alliance in the world between Nissan, Renault, and Mitsubishi. Now 2 of the 3 say they plan to remove him. A chickenpox outbreak at a small North Carolina school is the worst the state's seen since the vaccine was introduced in 1995. 36 students have come down with the virus at the Asheville Waldorf School, where 19 of 28 kindergartners weren't vaccinated for religious reasons, one of the highest rates in the state. The school says it follows state requirements, and that deciding to immunize a child is, quote, a parent's decision. After more than 4 years of debate, NASA's decided where the next Mars rover will land. Jezero Crater beat out its competition thanks to its dried-up river delta, which NASA hopes preserved evidence of the life that may have once flowed through it. But what makes the site attractive to scientists is a challenge for engineers. Giant boulders, cliffs, and sand dunes will be difficult for the rover to navigate when it arrives in 2021. 16 House Democrats are pledging to vote against Nancy Pelosi for Speaker of the House. That's more than she can afford to lose, though no one has stepped up to run against her. The announcement from her opponents says they promise to change the status quo and intend to deliver. The biggest wildfire in California history has burned across 230 square miles, and firefighters think it'll take until the end of the month to contain it completely. The Camp Fire is known to have killed 77 people, but a list of the missing grew through Sunday night to include nearly 1,300 names. That number has since dropped below 1,000, and it could fall further as duplicate names get cleared out and people call to report on who's been found.
We actually have investigators from my department as well as mutual aid from throughout California. They're taking information from the call center. They're taking information from the emails. They're taking information from our dispatch. We don't normally have a process to deal with this many unaccounted for individuals.
That's all Paradise, and that's where you guys are working in the Paradise branch. It's 13,000 structure fires that need to get overhauled. So a lot of metal roofs, they've just come down. We're just cutting them into quarters and yarding them out, and that gets us that to get in, look, get good eyes on the building. This was an urban firestorm. It's basically what it was. It was an urban firestorm that swept through a densely packed community, unfortunately with a lot of people who were vulnerable. So it was tough. So Paradise is has a large retirement community within it. It's a beautiful place to live. So there were a lot of elderly people there. We were using every fire engine we had for the first 6 to 8 hours, just rescuing people who were unable to evacuate. So we were not fighting the fire. 41 of our firefighters lost their home and couldn't for a period of time account for their family members.
Joe and I are the deputy operations for the incident, representing the fire rescue side and the law enforcement SAR side. So we'll be joined at the hip. We just need to get the group leaders identified, the resources that are assigned to them, and we'll push you out to your work assignments. With that, have a good, safe, and efficient shift.
It's bad enough that they come home to their home destroyed. The last thing in the world that we want would be for them to find their family, friends, remains on scene, right? So this is what we're doing right now through house to house. Each house that we go to, we do this, and hopefully everybody's out and we don't find anything, but if we do find something, hopefully that brings closure to a family that's waiting to find out what's going on.
Copy, we're playing one more house right now. We're playing a lot of risk.
I'll contact you when we're done with this.
As we're pulling stuff out, we brought a long bone out, and we're not sure what it is. And this just happened to be when we pulled off the stuff from the inside of the house. It came from a bedroom.
Paradise, it's been for our family. It's been where everybody's lived for my whole life. Today, we're gonna go work in a couple more shelters. Looking for my mom, Sheila Santos, 64. Yes, I wanna see if we can put this up. I'm missing my mom.
Oh, okay. You can put that on that wall too.
Right over there. It's exhausting. It's actually probably one of the most mentally exhausting things I've ever done, including fighting a war. Paradise is known as a retirement community. A lot of older people who, they come up here to relax. They come up here to enjoy life after they've worked so hard to get what they have. The longer it goes, the more hopeful I actually kind of am, because I figure there's 77 bodies right now, and they tell me identified, what did they say today, 64, I think it is. So I don't have a phone call yet either way. That's when we're going to talk to sheriffs to see if maybe we're one of the 10 already identified. But so far, no news, I guess, is good news. So.
Glad you all are here holding sanctuary and finding a brief release for your soul. God in heaven, I am so grateful for the men and women who risk their life and their homes and their families to protect the community of Paradise.
We have a long road, and it will take all of us to get the community back. All these people have come to help will help us get there. But it is intensely personal for all of us.
The 5,800 U.S. troops sent to the Mexican border to lay razor wire just before the midterm elections are now getting ready to leave the area, just as the caravan of migrants from Central America is arriving.
Estamos declarando que esa puerta está abierta, pero para el cielo está mucho mejor abierta. Ahí no va a haber ni llanto, ni más tristeza, ni más dolor.
After weeks journeying north, nearly 3,000 Central American migrants have reached Tijuana, Mexico, sheltered in a sports facility facing the U.S. border, with more than 1,000 expected to arrive in coming days. As shelter space nears capacity, and with no clear path into the United States, Tijuana could be the end of the line for the Central American caravan.
La mayoría de los mexicanos han sido muy buenos. No me quejo de eso. Nos han brindado apoyo, comida.
But in Tijuana, the migrants are getting a far chillier reception.
Have there been incidents, though, where there are people who have been unwelcoming? Have you found that in Tijuana specifically?
Ayer hubo un incidente que se subieron allá 2 personas a tirar piedras.
Yo estuve cuando fueron a las playas, que armaron el grupo de los de aquí mismo y los agarraron a pedradas. Ya piensan de diferente manera e inclusive hasta llegar a un punto de racismo, me refiero.
¿Racismo?
Son mayores, son mayores.
Hosting migrants stuck in limbo is nothing new for the people of Tijuana, be it deported Mexicans from the U.S., members of previous Central American caravans waiting months in the city to claim asylum in the United States, or even Haitians fleeing from the devastation of the 2016 earthquake. But with this caravan, it's different. To some, these migrants, particularly Hondurans, pose a unique, unruly threat.
How do you feel about the Honduran caravan camping out here?
The people of Tijuana don't like the Hondurans. They don't like them. No, nobody likes them. See that?
What do they say?
They say, fuck Honduras. We don't want those motherfuckers here. That's what they said.
Ellos vienen pensando que van a agarrar un sueño americano que no existe. Entonces, lamentablemente, esa gente se va a quedar aquí.
México siempre ha tenido abiertas las puertas a los centroamericanos, a la migración legal y ordenada, no a las invasiones ilegales que se están dando ahorita.
You keep using the word invasion.
Invasion
¿Por qué?
No tienen pasaportes, no hicieron trámites
But
legales.
how is that an invasion? Invasion is a army that's armed.
It's a soft invasion.
Soft invasion. Okay, interesting.
This Sunday, an ad hoc coalition of not-in-my-backyard types and outright Mexican nationalists coordinated a demonstration.
We already live in fear. We have a lot of crime here in Tijuana. We don't want any more.
And you think the caravan represents something to be afraid of?
Well, what I do know for a fact is that they didn't identify themselves coming in. They didn't do it the right way, and we don't know who they are, and we don't know their criminal background.
Because there is like a similarity in sort of the rhetoric between what the Trump administration's been saying.
I think the similarity would be that we want to do things legally. I think the similarity would be that we want to protect our borders.
But they're trying to figure out what is it they want, though. I mean, it's not race. We're not racist against nobody. We just want to know what is it they want. That's it. Aquí acaba la marcha. Aquí acaba la marcha, señores.
So this is it. This demonstration that's anti-caravan has marched from the city center to the migrant camp. There is a line of police, of riot police set up. So what was once maybe a peaceful demonstration seems to be being very confrontational.
As tensions rise in Tijuana, more migrants are primed to make their way to the city. Once here, their options seem slim. Stay and live in a city that's growing hostile to their presence while awaiting the unlikely chance to claim asylum in the United States, or attempt to cross into the States illegally through the world's busiest border crossing.
Mira, güey, si ustedes no hacen algo, nosotros sí lo vamos a hacer, hijo de tu chingada madre. Nosotros sí lo vamos a sacar a la verga si ustedes no lo sacan, güey. Y no nomás de Tijuana, de todo el país, güey.
Scott Lloyd lost his job today. Who is Scott Lloyd, you ask? The embattled head of the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Lloyd was appointed head of ORR, the government agency responsible for dealing with unaccompanied minors who come across our borders without papers. In March of 2017, he got the job with no substantive experience in the field, having been best known as an anti-abortion fanatic who once suggested that women should promise not to have abortions in exchange for government-funded contraception. Under his leadership, ORR repeatedly barred girls in its custody from getting abortions, creating a string of Jane Doe cases that the government ultimately lost in federal courts. I spoke to Rochelle Garza, the attorney for the first Jane Doe to fight ORR for her right to an abortion.
My hope is that Scott Lloyd departing ORR is a good sign, and that hopefully the agency will go in a different direction. While he was there, he interfered with numerous young women regarding their ability to exercise choice. Hopefully whoever does replace him is not aligned with that thinking.
Even with his string of legal defeats, Lloyd stayed on top of migrant reproductive issues with a specially made weekly spreadsheet on pregnant teens in his custody. Still, it wasn't Lloyd's anti-abortion fervor that cost him his job. It was this summer's family separation crisis, which exposed Lloyd's incompetence. When the Trump administration began separating families at the border in April, thousands of children flooded into ORR facilities. As the U.S. Government Accountability Office later concluded, ORR was grossly unprepared. It did a poor job of coordinating with DHS. It tracked the children in its custody in a haphazard fashion. Parents in ICE custody had a hard time finding their kids, and children often went weeks without speaking to their parents. In July, HHS head Alex Azar removed Lloyd from day-to-day operations. It took another 4 months for the official axe to fall. Lloyd will be transferred to another HHS agency called the Center for Faith and Opportunity Initiatives. He's also rumored to be writing a book about abortion.
America's latest mass shooting claimed 13 lives. It happened at Borderline Bar and Grill, a popular hangout for students at California Lutheran University. That shooting happened the day before the university's theater program was supposed to be debuting Columbinus, a play about the 1999 shooting at Columbine High School.
Where were y'all when you heard about the shooting?
We were all on this stage. We had just finished our last dress rehearsal, and our director was giving us notes when we found out. We were all together.
I don't think anyone put their hands to their head in disbelief, like, what? Is it possible again? Or how? Everyone just became deflated and defeated And some of us just stormed out in anger because we were just sick of it.
You're playing a character who essentially is the parallel of the person who did this in real life. Yeah. How does that feel?
It feels like a little extra gross, just spending so much time in that kind of mindset and then seeing all these people and all over the internet, all these people so devastated. Like, in a way, I feel guilty about it. The perpetrator of this event and the Columbine events are very similar, so I just thought it was definitely like way too soon to be repeating something that, I mean, up until today, hadn't really been this close to the community, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all still want to do this play now?
Yes, even more than before.
Want and need.
But the school administration felt differently. A few days later, they made a decision. The cast would be allowed to perform one dress rehearsal and one invite-only performance. All public performances were canceled.
I don't mean any offense to the people who feel that now is too soon for them. You know, a lot of the things that this play brings up are things that, you know, we can't look away from.
What's it like to be going into this performance and actually finally performing as a killer tonight?
I mean, I see it in a whole new perspective. It can't be just a play anymore. It has to be something that is impactful and honest and truthful.
Before we begin, we were wondering if you would please take a moment to rise as you are able and spend a moment of silence in memory of the victims of last week's shooting.
I mean, do you fucking understand what we're implying? All right, the most deaths in United States history. The police, the parents, the world will be studying these videos. Thinking why? Why would they do such a thing? Maybe they felt helpless or hopeless or alone. No, okay, it's fucking hate that fuels this fire. Don't believe me? Take a fucking look at yourself. All right, even you are hating me right now. Guess what? You fucking made me. You made us.
Do you think this play could be therapeutic for this community?
I really would hope so, you know, but I also could see people seeing me say awful, horrendous things, you know, holding guns, you know, talking about blowing people up, and only focus on that.
Fucking here. That's gonna leave a scar on America that's never gonna fucking heal.
What did you think of it? Don't hold back.
What did I think of it?
Yeah, was it too much?
It's not a comforting thing to watch. I didn't walk out of this thing thinking, oh, I feel better about really anything.
I don't think you're supposed to. I think that it's supposed to put the ball in your court.
Yes, this is my throne. Sometimes I go to the bathroom on this throne.
Take two, action. Hey, I'm the Mooch. These are my vices. I mean, I got my ass shot off at the White House, right? I mean, literally, I was only there for 11 days. It was a miserable, brutal experience. But then when you go back to Italy, you realize, who cares? I'm addicted to sugar, fat, and salt. All right, look, we're serving some wine here, or what are we doing? Because I would say I would be totally Italian if you drink at like 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a wonderful bouquet. It's got delicious tannins in it. I mean, do you believe that shit? That's what Italy does for you. This movie is an unbelievable movie. How many Guidos know the lines to this movie? Do you think I'm a clown? I mean, you think I'm funny? I mean, do you find me funny? Like, do I amuse you? I was out with DiCaprio one night. Leo and I were sitting at Rayo's, and I said to Leo, every time this movie comes on, I have to stop everything I'm doing and watch the movie. I could be on vacation in like Hawaii and Goodfellas shows up. I'm watching Goodfellas. I'm a hoarder of cosmetic products, okay? I mean, I got them stuffed in every drawer. It's like crazy. You know, when I went on TV and I like the harshness of these lights and then HD television, 1080p, 4K, you're like, you gotta be kidding me. It's like absolutely brutal. And so I watched these women throw all this shit on their faces and I'm like, okay, this is fantastic. White caviar, illuminating pearl fusion. I mean, that's like a fucking word salad. I did have one crow's foot and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So I did all kinds of like guru things to it. But the truth of the matter is the only thing that really works at my age is like Botox and like Restylane. Check this out, okay? Fabulous. I'm getting burnt in effigy by all the mania that goes on in the press. You have to make a decision in your head, boom, am I gonna take this stuff personally or am I going to be detached from this stuff and look at it like it's a movie? And so I chose the second path. In Washington, they like want to stab each other's eyeballs out to sit closer to the president on Air Force One. I mean, it's like a disgusting place. He has very good instincts on the media. I was with him once at Yankee Stadium and he said, why do you always go to these television shows? Why don't you just call in? And I could just see him calling in from his like gigantic, like 47-inch waist boxers, you know, on his like Gordon Gekko phone calling into these shows. His attitude was it was like way more efficient. They pop up this beautiful airbrushed picture of you and then you just rant and rave into the telephones. I was trying to point out to him, well, you're Donald Trump. They're not gonna allow me to do that. I would say, hey, John, you know, there was no reason to treat me the way you treated me, and you're a bit of an idiot. You know, you got a lot of unresolved anger, and you should probably figure out what that is. I mean, the guy takes himself like way too seriously. Okay, just relax a little. I mean, like saying that Steve Bannon was getting his own. I mean, that was like a pretty big mistake. I mean, a guy like that working for the New Yorker, they don't like Trump, and so, you know, he caught me on a recorded phone line. He was literally kissing my ass on the call, which is sort of like a revolting thing. And then he wrote the thing like it was like this explosive, unhinged thing. You know, the truth of the matter is, no big deal. I own that. I made a mistake on the phone line and very likely to make that mistake again. My entire life has been like a controlled, slow-motion car crash. You gotta be like Mayhem in the Allstate commercial, okay? I mean, the car crashes, what are you gonna do, cry about it? Get up and walk out.